Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about how I listen to audiobooks, what platforms that I use, and go over cost and basically just an overview of how I listen to audiobooks, what I use, things like that. I know several other people have also done this video, and I am not at all saying these are the only options, but I am saying these are the specific ones that I have used that work best for me, and as someone who listens to by far the majority or reads the majority of her books through audiobooks, I sort of feel like I've gotten to a point where I have picked the ones that work best for me. I've tried a lot of different things, and yeah, this is what I do. So this is not an all-exhaustive list of what's out there. This is specifically what works for me and what I'm willing to pay for and not. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I am subscribed to a few audiobook platforms, and we're going to go over those. I have also tried some other ones that I discarded in the past. So we're going to start with the ones that I pay for and the ones that I think give you the most bang for your buck. And the first one, which is probably no surprise, is Audible. Audible is by far the biggest supplier of audiobooks out there, in my opinion. They have the majority of romance books that you can find on Amazon and Kindle. Like, if you love independent romance books, that is probably the best way, and sometimes the only way you're going to find those on audiobooks, because a lot of them are Audible exclusives, so they're not available on other platforms. And also, if you do buy the Kindle book and it is available on Audible, a lot of times you can get the audio version at a reduced price, which is usually sometimes like $7, which sometimes they're a little higher than that, but if it's an indie romance and it has an audio available as well, if you buy the Kindle book, you can also get a reduced price audiobook, so that's usually around the $7 range. Sometimes you can get them even cheaper, where they're even like $1.99 or $3.99 or things like that, but in general, indie romances that are available on Kindle are usually available in the $7-ish range. So that's a lot of where I get my audiobooks if I'm listening to indie romances, because for one, that's usually the only place that they're available is Audible. And for two, that's such a low price. That's cheaper than just one credit. It is honestly, I feel like it's probably the best deal if you go through audiobooks pretty quickly. But if you're listening to one audiobook a day and you're spending $7 a day, that can add up really, really quickly, right? So I also have some other options to listen to other audiobooks, but I wanted to give that as a shout out first, because that's what I use probably the most, in addition to, Audible has several different types of memberships. I think their basic one, which is just their Audible Plus catalog, is like $10 a month, and I don't really think that that's worth it, because you don't have very many books to choose from just from Audible Plus. It's very hand-selected on their side. They choose what's going to be on Audible Plus. You don't have a whole lot of say on that, but if you do Audible Premium Plus, then you get 1 credit and you have access to Audible Plus, which does have some titles on there that are good to make use of. They're getting more and more romance titles on there all the time. But the Audible Premium Plus is $14.95 a month, and that gives you 1 credit and full access to the Audible Plus catalog. But even just if you are a member of Audible, or I think even if you're not a member of Audible, I think you can still get the Kindle audiobook that will whisper sync on Audible for like $7.49 sometimes, around that price. Anyway, so I have the Audible Premium Plus. I've been an Audible member for literally 10 years, at least 10 years. I have been listening to audiobooks for what feels like forever, and up until last year, I would only just use my monthly credit, and then when I listened to that book, that was it, and I was like, I wish I had more audiobooks to listen to. So now I sort of know how I can go around listening to more audiobooks instead of just being stuck with 1 credit. So something else that is really cool about Audible, and something that I really like about it, is that they have sales very often. They will usually have at least once a month, they will have some type of a sale, where sometimes it's either just select titles that they'll have on sale at a lower price, or something that they do. Sometimes they're $5, $6, $7. That's always a fun sale, and when they have that, I kind of stock up on the $5 ones as much as possible, because that's a pretty good price for an audiobook. But they will also do a buy 2, get 1, or a 2 books for the price of 1 credit. So something like that. They have bundle sales like that pretty often that really are good if you're on the lookout for titles that you want to listen to, or that you think you're going to like. That's also good as well. And then they also will have an option where if you're going through more than one credit a month, you can buy a pack of 3 Audible credits for like $34. So that's 3 for $34, which is much cheaper than just your $14.95 a month credit. So I'll also do that sometimes if I want to have credits because I know there's a book coming out that I want to be able to listen to right away, or a specific one that's exclusive to Audible, or something that I just want to have so I can listen to it over and over again. That's what I save my Audible credits for, are books that I know it's either from an author that I love, it's a book I'm anticipating, it's part of a series that I want to keep listening to, it's an Audible exclusive, or it's something that I can see myself listening to again and again, or even more importantly, it's something that I think my family would enjoy. My husband listens to audiobooks sometimes, and I'll be on the lookout for things that I think he will like to use those credits in a way that is being more responsible and getting more bang for my buck. So I do invest in audiobooks, but that's largely because they have a lot of value for me. I love audiobooks. They get me through the workday. They help me do chores that I don't like. I listen to them when I'm going on my walks. I listen to them while I'm working. I listen to them anytime I'm doing something that I don't want to do that's mindless. I put an audiobook on and then I'm like, oh, okay, it's not so bad, you know? So yeah, I'm a huge fan of audiobooks, so I do prioritize them. And Audible, I think, is probably the best use of your money if you're going to be paying for audiobooks. So now let's talk about some other services that I have. Another audiobook service that I have that I have just recently found within the last few months, I think I've only had it for like 3 months, and I actually heard about this from Jen from the Book Refuge, and it is AnyPlay. So this is basically like an audiobook streaming service where you pay either a monthly fee, a quarterly fee, or a yearly fee, and then you have full access to their entire library, which is honestly really, really big. That is a huge library, and they have a big selection of romance books. They have historical romance. They do also even have some indie romance. Like I found Carrie Ann Cole on there. I've found some Alicia Rye indies on there. They have a really huge selection of romance books. So that's something that I will do too, because I do have an AnyPlay membership. I am signed up for their quarterly membership, so that works out to be like $8 a month. You pay it quarterly, which is a really, really good deal. So if you can only afford, or you only want to budget, or you only want to pay for one audiobook services, I really think AnyPlay is the best use of your money, because their library is huge. It's very cheap. You literally do have unlimited listening. It's not like you listen to 2 and they cut you off like another streaming service, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute. It's fantastic. I am very, very, very happy with this membership. I really love it. The only downside to this that I have run into so far is that the listening speed isn't super adjustable. You only get to do like 1, 1.25, 1.5, 1.75. It doesn't go higher than 1.75, which is totally fine because that is a comfortable listening speed for me. I prefer to be from 1.75 to 2. Anything over 2, and I'm really not paying attention. I'm just kind of listening and catching bits and pieces as it goes, you know? So that's a speed that works for me, but I know that might not work for people who either listen a lot faster than that. So that's so far the only drawback that I have seen to AnyPlay, but for me it hasn't really affected me pretty much at all because I'm happy at 1.75. It sounds good to me, and it allows me to get through the book pretty quickly. So I know I talked about Audible first because I do think if you are buying books that you want to keep in your library, that you want to have, and if you want those Audible exclusive books, I think Audible is definitely worth it, and for the sales, I think there are a lot of perks to having Audible. But if you don't want to use Amazon, or if you only want to pay for one service a month, I think AnyPlay is definitely the way to go. So another service that I do have right now that I probably need to cancel, I don't know why I keep paying for this, I will probably cancel it now, is Scribd. So Scribd is also a streaming service where you can presumably listen to any and all audiobooks that they have available. However, that is not entirely true. Usually, I have found that the most audiobooks that I can listen to through Scribd is, the most I've ever had is 3, maybe 4, and then at that point, they take away all of the books, all of like the books that you want to listen to, like maybe like the popular ones, the ones that are newer titles, you know, like ones that aren't just like totally obscure, those are gone. And then you have maybe like 4 or 5 books to choose from that you've never even heard of. Just like so yeah, I don't really love this service. I don't think it's bad. It's fun. I've enjoyed it. and you do get to customize your listening speed to this one. But it is definitely not unlimited. They kind of hoodwink you on that one. It's really a lot more of like, you can listen to 2 is usually a guarantee, 2 audiobooks on there a month. Anything more than that is kind of just like a Russian roulette game. You don't know if you're going to be able to listen to it. You don't know if you're going to be able to finish that book before they take it away. That sometimes happens. So I know there are some ways to sort of work around that, like don't download audiobooks and then you may potentially get more that you're able to listen to. And like don't save titles because then that, like save popular titles because then that way you may have more access. But honestly, like I don't really want to live with those rules personally. Like just tell me it's unlimited or tell me it's not. So this one is a cheaper service, but again, AnyPlay has it beat in my opinion. So Scribd is okay, but it doesn't even compare to AnyPlay. AnyPlay has more books to listen to, and it is truly unlimited. They don't just cut you off. So, I do still have Scribd, but I'm going to change that. I'm going to cancel that, probably. I'm sorry if you're listening to Scribd. I don't think you would be. But if you are, just fix it. Just tell us how many books we get, okay? Okay, the next one. So another popular audiobook platform is LibraFM. Now, the cool thing about LibraFM is that but when you pay for your membership, you get to decide how much, like a portion of that will go to an independent bookstore. So you can either choose your own independent bookstore that you want to help support, or you can just let them choose some independent bookstore, you know, like that is a really cool function of LibraFM, and I think that is honestly amazing, and hats off to them. I really, really love that, and that was one of the main reasons that I signed up for them. I have since canceled my LibraFM membership, and it's largely just because their library isn't very big. A lot of times I would be looking for a book that I wanted to buy, and it wasn't available when I had credits there. And another one is it's fairly expensive. It's $14.95 a month, and you only get, it's $14.99 a month, and you only get 1 credit a month. So you're paying the same price as Audible, but you're not having access to the Plus catalog, and you're not having access to like the sales, the great sales that Audible will have. However, you are supporting an independent bookstore, which is really cool. And one thing that LibraFM does have, which I really enjoyed, is they have a monthly like romance package that you can get, and it's called like the Kiss Club. It's not something that you have to pay a monthly fee for every month, but once you like buy a book from them, they send you updates on when they're going to have deals on certain romance books each month. So each month they have a selection of romance books that are very, very cheap. They're anywhere from like $3 to $4 to $5. I think the most expensive one I've seen on there was like $4.95. A lot of the times they're historical romance. They're usually traditionally published, and that can be a really good, fun option if you want to pack in a few more at a lower price and you still want to support an independent bookstore. Then I think that LibraFM would be a great choice for you. I do think that you have more ability to adjust your listening speed on LibraFM, but I don't think it goes over 2. Let me check. I actually can't tell. I'm not sure. I think it's 2. I think 2 might be the max speed for LibraFM. I'm not entirely sure. I know it's more than AnyPlay. You can adjust it faster than 1.75, but it seemed like it had a stopping point, so if that's a big deal to you, maybe look into that and see what the speed playback is on there. So, okay. So those are all of the paid audiobook services that I have used in the past and some of my favorites. And now we're going to talk about the free ones. So first of all, I want to mention just briefly that Spotify does have some audiobooks on there that you can listen to, and they are almost always, I don't know if I should say almost always, they are usually supported by the author, where the author has said, yes, I want this book on Spotify, and then they'll get a fee, they'll get a royalty from that for having it on there. So I so far haven't listened to a ton on Spotify, actually. I do know that Katie Roberts had Neon Gods on there briefly, so that if you have a Spotify membership, it's not necessarily free, but you're not paying for that audiobook, so that's pretty cool. And then the 2 biggest free audiobook listening services that I personally use are Libby and Hoopla. Now these are powered by your library system, so depending on what audiobooks your library has for Libby is really depending on what you're going to have access to listen to. So you can download the Libby app. We're going to talk about that one first. So you can download the Libby app. It's free. All you need is a library card. You can use your own library card if you have access to other library cards. You can also use those as well. You can put them in so you have multiple library cards that you're using to get access to multiple libraries' books to listen to, or even some of these are available on ebook too, but this video is all about audiobooks. So Libby is great depending on what your library has. So in my area, my libraries have a lot of historical romance in their in their library. They have a lot of historical romance access in the libraries that I have access to. There is very little indie romance, like hardly any at all, and there is some contemporary romance, and I mean, depending on your area and when you find the audiobook, you may have to wait for a long time to get access to it, so you can put a hold on it just like you can with any other library. But when I finally downloaded the Libby app, I think it was just earlier this year, like in January, I was like, oh my gosh, I have access to all of these books that are free, because I was starting to really spend a lot of money on audiobook services and I didn't really want to do that. So Libby is honestly great. You can change the reading speed pretty high. It's very easy to just stream it. You don't have to download the book. It's just honestly fun. Plus it's supporting your library. A lot of libraries will let you request books that you want that maybe aren't in the database, and that is a great way to bring attention to authors and support them if you financially can't do that. So Libby is fantastic. And I only have 2 library cards on my Libby app, but I get access to quite a lot of books from there. So I'm super happy with Libby. I really love it. I think it's a great service and it's completely free. Another one that is also powered by your library is Hoopla. Hoopla is similar to like a Netflix. It's basically a streaming service too, where you have unlimited access to books that they have on their database. That's the word I was looking for earlier, is database. Now, this is also depending on what your library has available at the moment. So even though I use the same library card for Libby and Hoopla, I have a lot more access to books on Hoopla. But the thing with Hoopla is you are limited to checking out 8 books a month. So once you've had 8 books, you're done. You can't check any more out. But still, you get 8 basically free books that you don't have to wait for like Libby. You don't have to put them on hold. As long as it's in that library, you and multiple people at the same time can be listening to it, and it's just super cool. It's really, really fun and free. So that is a great one. I use both Libby and Hoopla. I probably use Libby more, and that's largely just because I'm going in there, I'm looking for books, I'm putting them on hold, and then I get a notice that's like, oh, your library hold came in. I'm like, okay, I have to listen to this right now, you know? Whereas with Hoopla, it's like I use that if I want to find a specific book, and I don't really want to pay for it, and it's on there, and then I just get it, and I immediately start listening to it. So all of these services are really great. I love audiobooks. I love them so much. They count as reading. They bring so much joy to my life, and these services have made it easier for me to access more books than I would ordinarily, and they also help me to save a little bit of money. And hopefully this video helped you decide where you want to be spending your money, and if you have any tips or tricks for how you listen to audiobooks, feel free to leave those in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this video, my friends. I will see you in my next one.